everyone, Tawnie here with Tawnie Talks, licensed psychotherapist. I'm so happy to see you. I hope you're having a great day. I'm not even going to jump into the fishbowl of questions today. I'm going to go ahead and talk about our topic, which is going to be affairs and things to think about before you have one. So let's go ahead and get started. With the alleged affairs popping up all over the internet recently, it really gave me an idea to go ahead and have a video about affairs and things to think about before you start having an affair. So let's go ahead and break it down in this video. Hi everyone, Tawnie here. Sorry to interrupt your video, but just wanted to ask you to please like, subscribe, or share this video. If you find it helpful, it would really help the algorithm and help me grow my channel. Thanks so much, and back to the video. So, things to consider before you have an affair and ways to critically think about your actions. Let's go ahead and get started. So, when you're thinking about having an affair, it means usually that you're thinking about somebody outside of your marriage in a romantic sense. Maybe you're fantasizing about this person. Maybe you're having these never ending thoughts about this person. When you're around them, they give you the butterfly feelings, and it's someone that's not in your marriage. And so, when you're developing these feelings for someone, I want you to realize that, first of all, it's a choice. It's a thought that you have that you're choosing to think about, having these thoughts about somebody outside of your marriage. And when you continue to have these thoughts, as you can see, they'll continue to grow, and they might even get wider and wider. So you're thinking about different fantasies and different times that you can find yourself being with this person. And so I want you to realize, A, that it's a thought, and oftentimes our actions will follow our thoughts. I also want you to examine your marriage. Is there something that's not being met in your marriage that you think this person outside of your marriage can provide for you? So, for example, it could be maybe you're not feeling respected at home. Maybe you're not feeling loved and adored. Maybe the communication is terrible, or you might be feeling like you're taken for granted. So, when you start thinking about why you might be thinking about somebody outside of your marriage, I want you to examine what it is that you feel like you're not getting inside of the marriage. And is this something that's within your control? Or is it something completely outside of your control? Could couples counseling help you improve your communication with your spouse? Or do you feel like, you know what? I just think having an affair would be the way to go for me. And so I want you to think about that as well. Also, I want you to know that affairs can happen in very regular places. Oftentimes, you can have an affair at work with a coworker. You're spending a lot of time with this person outside of the comfort of your home and the chores and the kids and the bill paying, and it's just a completely different environment. And then you might even get to go on a work trip together with colleagues. So I think that's where the terms work spouses come in. Is that you're spending a lot of time with this person, and it's almost like you hang out with each other at work, you have lunches together at work, and so that's one place that oftentimes people find themselves having an affair. You can also have an affair at your kids' school when you're at school events, or their sporting events, or even at the local grocery market. So affairs can happen pretty much any place, but I also want you to know that affairs really start in here. Well, really, it's in here, but we refer to it as affairs starting within your heart when you're thinking about somebody else. And so realizing and breaking it down that you're trying to find a need that's not currently being met in your marriage, or it could just be an affair of opportunity. Maybe you see somebody that you think is attractive outside of your marriage, and you go ahead and strike up a conversation, and it's easy, and boom, an affair just starts. And you didn't mean to hurt anybody, but it just was really easy to just kind of fall back into this other relationship. And so some of the things to think about when you are thinking about having an affair, or if you're already in the middle of an affair, I want you to give some thought to these other options I'm going to go ahead and provide for you. So if we want to step back and look at the big picture of what the consequences of affairs are, yes, there's going to be broken hearts. Yes, there's going to be a lot of legal matters if you're going to have to go down to the divorce route and everything. But really start thinking about, if you have children, how is the affair going to affect your children? I've counseled people where they've been adults and their parents have had affairs, and it was devastating for them, even though they were adults and their parents were married for 20 plus years and had an affair, and that was devastating for these adult children. And how's it going to affect the children if they're younger and you have an affair and then you end up getting divorced, for example? Also, thinking about children and as they grow up, and if you were to get married to somebody else, having to split the time between your children and being able to be with your new family, especially if you choose to have new children with your new spouse, and how your children might feel about that. And then how many sets of grandparents are going to be in the future at important events such as wedding, graduation, holiday dinners, and your children needing to deal with the different sets of grandparents as well, and splitting the time. I mean, if you're a grandma, you're gonna have to split the time with your grandchildren and share it with the other grandmother. If you're a mother, you might have to share the caretaking of your children with another woman, your ex-husband's new wife, and vice versa for the husband. You'll have to share the caretaking duties with another man. And so I want you to think about that and how difficult that can be. Another thing that people don't think about when they have these so-called blended families is the disciplinary and how that can affect a stepchild. So my go-to in this usually is the biological parent is the one that does the disciplinary decisions, and the step parent is there to kind of be supportive and loving and encouraging to the child. Okay, that has seemed to work out really well. And so if it's at all possible, I'd like for you to consider that option as well. But really, I've seen affairs really affect children, not just affect children, but affecting the adults in the affair too. There are trust issues that you might have down the line. You might be thinking to yourself, okay, well, if my spouse can cheat on me after all of these years of marriage and intimacy, can I really trust anybody new? Is it all just going to fall apart on me? And especially hard when you've been married for a really long time and you've spent a lot of time and you've built a home together, and how devastating that can be. So these are some things that I want you to think about. Also, I want to bring up the fact about honor. So when you're having an affair and you're being deceitful and you're lying to your spouse and it's secret and it's lie after lie after lie, and you're having to cover up where you've been, maybe you're deleting your browsing history. But oftentimes this stuff will come out. And so I want you to really examine yourself. Are you an honorable person? Are you a person of your word? And apply that to your marriage as well. And I know that it's not easy having a conversation with your spouse about even having thoughts about somebody outside of your marriage. But if you're starting to have those thoughts, I really would encourage you to go see a counselor, or if you have really good communication with your spouse, to just sit down with your spouse and say, you know what? I think there's something in this marriage that maybe I'm not getting, because I'm starting to have thoughts about this other person, or I'm starting to think about this other person, and I love you and I want to be an honorable person, and I want to address this with you so that we can take steps to fortify this marriage so that it doesn't go any further than thoughts, and hopefully the thoughts will disappear altogether. And so I want you to be proactive when you're starting to develop feelings for somebody else outside of your marriage, and really talk to your spouse about tackling this problem as a team approach. And I think that would really improve and strengthen the communication that you have with one another. It's a great problem-solving skills that you'll learn together. And even if you go to work with a wonderful couples counselor, uncovering maybe the hidden resentments and anger and issues that haven't been brought up before, that might be affecting your marriage. And so these are some of the things that I want you to think about before you think about having an affair, how it affects yourself and the other person, your spouses, any children that might be involved, and what that looks like 10, 15, 25 years down the line. Not only is it probably going to be costly when you've got legal issues and you've got to go to court and you've got to split up finances and investments, etc., but how's it going to be emotionally affecting you or your spouse and your children down the line? So there's a lot to think about before having an affair. And I feel like sometimes people don't think about the big picture and the consequences and really critically think and break down the affair, and they just kind of jump into it. They have this amazing feeling, they're developing feelings, they're flirting, they're getting attention, they like that attention, those dopamine hits are coming, and then they go ahead and before they know it, they're in this like full-fledged affair that's shrouded in secrecy. And I don't think that ever feels good, to have to conceal a part of yourself and be dishonest. And so it's okay to feel shame. Shame is a good thing to feel. It means that you feel bad about doing something bad, and then it's time to go ahead and talk about it and just put it all in the open so that we can go ahead and start problem solving. And whether that is, a divorce, or maybe it's a second chance at an even better marriage, I truly believe that's possible as well. So I think affairs is an opportunity for us to stop and critically think about what we're not getting met in the relationship, or maybe it's just what's happening inside of us. Maybe it's an internal struggle. We're growing, we're evolving, our needs are changing, and maybe we don't know how to communicate that to our spouse, or maybe our spouse isn't receptive to growing with us. And so we really kind of want to delineate that. Is it me? Is it really me? Or is it my spouse, or is it a combination of both? So going to a couples counselor can help with that. Having a sit down, frank conversation with your spouse can really help with that. And just being honest and honorable in your actions, and realizing that affairs are not fun, especially for the other person that's being cheated on. And so really thinking about all the consequences and the factors that go into an affair before you go ahead and have an affair, I think is a great way to start. And even if you're already in an affair and you want out, you know what? It's never too late to start over. It's never too late to sit down and have that honest conversation with your spouse. And maybe a couples counselor can help you with that conversation. And I know that it's not going to be easy, but I think it'll help you feel a lot better about you and not having to hide a part of you or lie anymore or live in secrecy. And I think it's a great way to go ahead and use those assertive skills that we've talked about earlier, problem solving skills and communication skills, and hopefully bring you and your spouse closer together. So anyway, I hope this video has been helpful for you. It's just some things to think about when you're considering having an affair. And I know it's not an easy topic, so we're just opening the very, very beginning of this. There's so much more to talk about on this topic, but I just wanted to jump on and have a quick video, and I hope you have an amazing day. And if no one's told you yet today, you are special, you're unique. There's no one like you in the whole wide world, and I can't wait to see you on the next video. Have a great one.